Good morning and welcome to the April 28th, 2021 City Council meeting. I will call the meeting to order, and we're going to start with the invocation with Councilmember Sellers, followed by the Pledge of Allegiance. If you'll stand with me.
Let us pray. Dear Heavenly Father, we come to you today asking for your blessing for this meeting. We pray for your guidance as we make decisions for our community. Help us to make the right decisions that will make our city a better place for all our people. We thank you for this great city to live and raise our families. Help us to continue to praise you for those blessings. In your holy name we pray. Amen.
Amen.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Since this is Councilman Sellers' almost last meeting, I thought it was appropriate that she did the invocation, so thank you for doing that. Appreciate it. We have the minutes to approve for the February 10th, 2021 meeting.
Move to approve minutes as presented.
Second.
Got a motion by Westbrook, second by Curtis. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. A1, do we have a video? Thank you to these four folks that have been here for a combined 90 years of service. You know, when you see the new people that are hired that come in and go to work for the city, being able to talk to these people who have been around 20, 30 years, I mean, it's the kind of a mentor-mentee program. So just proud of these guys that have been around so long, and thank you for their service, and hope they stick around for another 20 and 30 years. So, Kyle?
Good morning, Mayor and Council. First request is a voluntary annexation request for approximately 5.38 acres of land. This is located at the southeast corner of Highway 64 East and County Road 219. The applicants requested the annexation to bring the properties into the city limits, and the properties are contiguous on the city's eastern boundary. This request would establish the future land use designation as general commercial. The surrounding properties are to the northeast and the south are currently outside the city limits. To the north is commercial property. To the east is also office use. To the south is currently a residential property. To the west is commercial uses and zoned for commercial and industrial use. The applicant has, or they are requesting the zone change. They currently had a gas station and a convenience store on the property on the hard corner there. The larger tract is currently undeveloped. They do plan to, at a future date after the annexation, request that the city council adopt an ordinance to essentially extend the alcohol sales to the property. So that's an allowance they can do under the state law. And so at this time though, when they were reviewing the conditions or the criteria for that future request, there is a restriction on being adjacent to residential property. So like I mentioned, the property to the southeast is currently residential. At this time, they're working through a survey or resurvey to essentially reduce the area that they're going to request to annex. And so they will, at this time, they want to postpone the annexation for 30 days so they can come back with a smaller area and then have the annexation evaluated at that time. So with that being said, because the applicant wants to request or extend the approval to a later date, staff would recommend tabling it for 30 days.
Okay. Any questions for Kyle? So I guess we need to table it for 30 days? That's it? Is that the,
Yeah, I believe the applicant was going to call in. I'm not sure if they're.
I've got a card here from a Gerald Riggle. Come on up. If you'll state your name and address for the record.
I'm Gerald Riggle. My address, I actually live at 11842 County Road 215 in Chapel Hill. Retired police sergeant for Tyler. I own several properties here, but I actually own 6.2 acres that is in this surrounding area in the gray there. My mom lives over there. We have 2 duplexes, 3 houses, and 5 manufactured homes on that property. My basic concern is I want the city to grow, and I think 64 should be a C2 or whatever for commercial property. But the 219 property should maintain either an R1, R2 for multiple family or single family residences, just because of where it's at and what's surrounding it. And I just wanted to speak. I mean, I spoke to other homeowners and stuff, and they're worried about what can come in there. I mean, I go to church at Tyler Tabernacle just up the street. They're on 5th Street, and across the street, they were going to put a nightclub, which turned into a daycare facility now, which is great. It's a beautiful facility. But we just don't want something coming in there to knock about the whole 5 acres and be something like a nightclub. There's going to be a lot of traffic and things like that. And so I just wanted to express my opinion this morning. I appreciate y'all's consideration. Y'all did a great job. Thank you.
Thank you. Appreciate your comments. I will entertain a motion.
The request is to table, is that right?
That's right.
Okay. Move to table. Second.
Got a motion by Wynn and a second by Westbrook to table this item for 30 days. Any further discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Z2.
This is a zone change request from R1A Single Family Residential District to R1D Single Family Attached and Detached Residential District. The applicant is requesting the zone change to be able to develop 14 single-family detached homes. They plan to develop a subdivision off of Claude Street, which would be a cul-de-sac neighborhood. The properties to the west are zone R1A and C1, and they're developed with single-family homes in the church. To the north are single-family homes. To the east are also zoned for single-family homes, and then to the south are developed with commercial property. This request would amend the future land use guide from single-family medium-low density to single-family medium-high density. The applicant does plan to develop 14 detached homes on this property, which would help implement the Tyler First goal of adding 3,000 more rooftops to the north end. The applicant plans to develop homes that are approximately 1,400 square feet in size. Of the notices that were sent out, 0 were returned in favor of the request. 1 was returned in opposition with a protest calculation of just under 1%. The main concern there was drainage, or just over 1%. The main concern there was with drainage to the west. There is a kind of low area or a creek on the west side of this property. They plan to stay out of that. They don't plan to have any access to Parkdale Drive. And the Planning and Zoning Commission by a 6-0 vote recommended approval.
Any questions for Kyle?
Second.
Motion by McGee, second by Sellers. Any further discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Z2 carries. Motion carries. Z3.
This is a request for a thoroughfare closure, a right-of-way closure of a portion of North Palace Avenue. This is in the City Council District Number 3. This portion of North Palace Avenue is currently undeveloped, has never been developed or improved, and so the applicant plans to abandon the right-of-way to incorporate it into the properties to the east to allow for residential development. The engineering department has identified utility lines within the right-of-way that will need an easement for those utilities at the time of the replat. Of the notices that were sent out, 0 were returned in favor or in opposition to the request. And the Planning and Zoning Commission by a 6-0 vote recommended approval of the right-of-way closure, subject to it being replatted within 6 months.
So I guess when the people take over the alleys, the adjacent owners, since there's utilities, they know they can't build on it?
That's right.
Okay.
Yeah, they'll have to, like I said, dedicate an easement for it, or if they can relocate it, they can do that too.
Okay. Any questions for Kyle? Entertain a motion.
So moved.
Second.
Motion by McKellar, second by Curtis. Any further discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Z4.
Next request is a zone change request from M1 Light Industrial District to DBAC Downtown Business Arts and Culture District. This is in Council District Number 4. The applicant is requesting the zone change to allow for a multifamily residential structure consisting of 25 dwelling units. All adjacent properties are currently zoned M1 Light Industrial District and are developed with a mixture of commercial and residential use. The development would consist of 25 residential units, a 3-story building. We do have a rendering of the building and the layout. The property will be required to have at least 25 parking spaces on site, which they have shown on a conceptual that they can accommodate that. This proposal will help implement the downtown chapter of Tyler First. The goals of adding more residential households to the downtown area. Of the notices that were sent out, 0 were returned in favor or in opposition to the request, and the Planning and Zoning Commission by a 6-0 vote recommended approval.
Any questions for Kyle? Yeah, I got to tell you, these things going on downtown are just blowing my mind. You know, you see the stuff on the King Chevrolet deal and now on the opposite side of the square. It's exciting to be a part of it. And Larry, thank you for doing this, and Fitzpatrick for doing the architect work, and fabulous project. So I'll entertain a motion.
Move to approve Z4.
Second.
Motion by Wynn, second by Sellers. Any further discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Z5.
This is a request for a street name change. This is located in Zone 4 of the Tyler ETJ, but this is adjacent to Lake Tyler. And the proposal is to rename this remnant stretch of East Side Road, which is a duplicate of East Side Road on just to the east of that. Rename it from East Side Road to Yacht Club Way. The Yacht Club is located off of this street here, the property there, as you can see. And so this stretch of East Side Road was identified as needing clarification or renaming for clarification of for emergency services. So the city made this request on behalf of the property owners in that area. The property owners that have an address off of that street that would need to update their address, that we didn't receive any concerns from them. We did notify them kind of what the next steps they have to take in updating their addresses for public records. And so with the Planning and Zoning Commission by a 6-0 vote recommended approval of the name change for this portion of East Side Road to Yacht Club Way.
Any questions for Kyle?
Move to approve Z5.
Motion by Sellers, second by McGee. Any further discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Joe, you got out of coming up and speaking. Okay, good.
I wondered what he was doing here.
All right, Z6.
This is a request for a thoroughfare closure for unapproved alley. This is just east of North Clayton Avenue. This is for Highland Dairy Foods Company. This is part of their ongoing effort to close the alleys in that area for their expansion of the plant that they have there. They do plan to incorporate this alley, as you can see here, unapproved, into those lots adjacent to it. Of the notices that were sent, 0 were returned in favor or in opposition to the request, and the Planning and Zoning Commission by a 6-0 vote recommended approval.
Any questions for Kyle?
Move to approve Z6.
Second.
Motion by Wynn, second by Westbrook. Any further discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Z7.
Next request is it's also for Highland Dairy. It's a zone change from R2 two-family to C2 general commercial district. And again, this is in the same area as part of their expansion efforts. And so they have rezoned the surrounding properties to the east to C2 as well in the past after going through those closures and zone changes. And so this is just a continuation of that effort. Of the notices that we sent out, we didn't receive any in favor or in opposition to the request. The Planning and Zoning Commission by a 6-0 vote recommended approval.
Any questions for Kyle? All I'll say is that kudos to Highland Dairy for continuing to grow and expand, so thank you for that. I entertain a motion.
Move to approve Z7.
Second.
Who made the motion?
In.
You. Motion by Wynn, second by Sellers. Any further discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. At some point in time, these things here are going to come down, so it's going to be easier to hear each other. All right. Z8.
This final request is a zone change from R1A Single Family Residential District to PUR Planned Unit Residential District. The applicant is requesting the zone change to allow for the proposed neighborhood to be a gated community. So it does require the planned development zoning for that designation. So the applicant is requesting to PUR, but they do plan on using the R1A development standards, which are consistent with the surrounding properties. All the surrounding properties are generally developed for single-family homes or planned to be developed with single-family homes. Of the notices that were sent out, 0 were returned in favor or in opposition to the request, and the Planning and Zoning Commission by a 6-0 vote recommended approval.
Any questions for Kyle?
Move to approve Z8.
Second.
Motion by Sellers, second by McGee. Any further discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Thank you, Kyle. Lisa, R1.
Good morning.
Good morning.
The city of Tyler is going to be receiving grant funding from the Texas Water Development Board through their Flood Infrastructure Fund for 2 separate drainage projects. The first project we'll be talking about is the drainage study of Blackport Creek at Gentry Parkway. The Development Board has approved a 35% grant match to the city, so they will be providing $28,000 of the total $80,000 project cost. The next step in securing this funding is having the city execute a funding agreement with the Water Development Board. Therefore, this is just simply a request to authorize a resolution to allow the city manager to execute this funding agreement with the Water Development Board in the amount of $28,000 for this drainage study of Blackport Creek at Gentry Parkway.
When Ed and I were going over the council review, this item looked like it was identical to what we did the last meeting. And so we talked about it in the last meeting, we actually approved the study by Half and Associates.
Correct.
And then this was actually just to approve to receive the funds. So even though it looks like it's almost identical, there is that little bit of separation. So any questions for Lisa?
Move to approve R1.
Second.
Motion by Curtis, second by McGee. Any further discussion? All those in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed? Motion carries. R2.
And R2 is the second of these drainage projects that will be receiving funding from the Water Development Board. This is an amount in the amount of $56,000 provided by the Development Board then the total cost of the project is $160,000. So again, the prior meeting, you approved the engineering contract with HAF to actually proceed with the study, and this is simply the authorization of having the city manager execute this funding agreement with the Water Development Board so that the city can receive the funds.
Any questions for Lisa?
So moved.
Second.
Motion by McKellar, second by Westbrook. Any further discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Thank you, Lisa. O1. Who do we have?
Is that
doing
Kyle? Oh, Heather.
There she is.
Good morning, council.
Morning.
Morning,
This is
Heather.
a request to consider adopting an ordinance approving a revised interlocal agreement between the city of Tyler and Smith County related to plat and subdivision regulations in the city of Tyler's ETJ. The Smith County Commissioners Court did review this yesterday at their Commissioners Court meeting and approved it. This item is reviewed every 5 years. It does have two-year extensions, and it's time to review it and approve it once again. As you can see here, this is a map of our ETJ, and the city does review plats within our ETJ on behalf of the county. So with that, we did take this to the Developers Roundtable for their input, and we are recommending approval of the interlocal agreement between Smith County and the city of Tyler.
Any questions of Heather?
Move to approve O1.
Second.
Motion by Curtis, second by McKellar. Any further discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Thanks, Heather. O2.
Good morning, my name is Steve Thompson, I am your new airport manager.
Morning, Steve.
Good morning. And this morning I'm presenting a request for a half-cent increase to the lease rates that we levy at the airport. With this item, we did provide a great deal of history, and I want to highlight that we do have a duty to be as self-sufficient as possible, and that history shows that we are also well below market rate for what we currently charge out at the airport. Back in 2016, council did approve some new lease rates that included a half-cent increase if approved each year beginning last year in 2020, in which it was approved. This then is the next step. You can see in this diagram here that we do differentiate between, that we do differentiate between two different tiers, we call them, but in the green shaded area is our low tier rate, and the red shaded area then is our high tier rate. This is basically based on value to the tenant and available use of that space. Next slide, please. And there's a right half if you click again. There we go. The information on the right half of this slide shows the proposed rates with this new half-cent per square foot increase. This will result in an additional $9,379 in revenue for the airport. Following the advisory board's recommendation of this rate increase, I am now requesting approval of this ordinance to enable the half-cent per square foot increase to our lease rates. Are there any questions on that proposal?
Any questions for
I
Steve?
have a question. How
Yes, ma'am.
long will we will it take to get us to the market rate? I remember when we approved the other half cent, it seems like we're going so slow. When do we get to the market rate?
Great question. We are going slow, and I can imagine, and the data that I have is from back in 2015, so that is old now, and I'm guessing that many of those surrounding airports have continued to increase from there. So I can't tell you when we would get to market rate. That's very much a moving target, but we have been asked by the advisory board to update that study, bring some more information in to better answer that question. So I believe that this rate barely keeps us in step with the market. It's a necessary but very modest increase, and we'll explore that for future increases as you ask.
I think that's a great idea. Our former mayor liked half cents. Do you remember when he would want to go half cent here? So we'll never get to market rate, will we?
Well, I can't say never, because we'll do our darndest to get there, but this basically barely keeps us in step with market increases, so we'll absolutely explore that.
And I understand there's been no pushback from folks that are renting the facilities out there.
Not that I'm aware of, sir.
Mayor, I was on the airport board back when we studied that, and on 2015, 2016, there was pushback from the tenants at the time due to the construction that we had coming up on the airport. So kind of wanted to wait a little while before we got the rate increase. So now it's here because we're finished with all the runways, and airport is in great shape.
So good timing. All right, any other questions for Steve?
Second.
Motion by McGee, second by Sellers. Any further discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries.
Thank you. And
Thank
have
you,
a great
Steve.
day.
Hi, Kedrick.
Good morning.
Morning.
Good morning.
I have a very
This is getting,
exciting item.
this is getting more exciting here.
This, I know you're gonna like. And I'm happy to be bringing good news. Mayor and council, you have item 03 before you. And this is a request the city council approve Tyler Hotel Occupancy Tax Series 2021 revenue bonds. On February the 10th, 2021, we bought a presentation to you all, basically talking about what we wanted to do as far as going to the market in order to get some of the funding for our new Rose Complex Center. And you all gave us some guidance at that point in time. And so we proceeded on to move down through the process. And on April the 5th, we met with bond rating agency staff and the mayor, and we had a really good meeting. We got a really good rating, a lot better rating than we had initially expected. Just to give you a little insight on the convention center, we're expecting some funding to come from half-cent sales tax, our hot fund, our rainy day fund, and then donations. So the majority of the project is going to be covered with cash on hand, and we're issuing debt at about $10.7 million. Actually, there's a premium on that, and Stephen will go through that. So what I'll do is Stephen, who's our financial advisor, he's here today to give you a short presentation and give you a little bit of the details on the actual deal. And at the end of that presentation, we recommend that you all approve the ordinance to sell these bonds. And I would just like to say, as we went into this sale, the market is a little rough right now on issuing hot bonds. And I think we did very well considering how the market is at this point in time. And also we had a local bank that stepped up and bought half of these bonds, and so we were very excited about that. So having said that, I'll turn it over to Stephen, and he'll go through the actual presentation. Thank you.
Thank you, Kedrick, Mayor, members of the council. A few months ago when Kedrick said, well, we want to sell hotel occupancy tax bonds during the middle of a pandemic, I was like, okay. But fortunately, you know, Tyler's done well, and the rating presentation that Kedrick talked about, I want to tell you the staff did a great job. Stephanie and Vanessa and city manager and even the mayor and others were involved in that. We always have to talk about cybersecurity and all kinds of other items because of what's going on with regard to ransomware in many political subdivisions around the country. So we always have the IT staff there, and they do a great job as well. So when we started this, I expected that you would be in the A category, but you got an A+ rating from Standard & Poor's, and that's a really high rating for a hotel occupancy tax of a small city. Really, to get any higher than that, you'd have to have 10,000 beds, and you're short of that mark. So that's as high as you can get for the size of this city and those numbers of hotels. We did sell the bonds for 25%. We had to do a negotiated underwriting, and we worked with RBC and Robert W. Baird, who have people that have been calling on the city for many years, and one of them even is local that works for RBC, the banker that we talked to there. And so we did negotiate those bonds yesterday, and we received an interest rate of 2.47% for 25 years. And the next item, just to give you an idea, we did a 30-year water and sewer bond, which would be your next item, for 2%. Well, that's a AA+ credit of a necessary utility. So we're not that far off of that. And the primary reason is that we were able to get bond insurance, and I'll go into that in a minute. But you will also have the right to prepay these in 10 years. And the local bank is Southside Bank. They bought the longest half of the bonds, which really was a good thing. And I did get permission from them to mention that, because not every bank likes to let it be known to their competitors what they're doing. So they really helped a lot. So that was very helpful. Can you go to the next slide, please? So this is the debt service. It's under $600,000 a year. When we did the cash flow models, we were over $700,000 a year. So the interest rate and the bond insurance really helped that out. So the bond insurance was provided by Assured Guaranty. And if you don't pay these bonds, they will pay it. That's the value of the bond insurance. So before they insure anything, they go through even deeper analysis than the rating agencies, because they are literally on the hook to write a check if you don't. And I was a little concerned about getting bond insurance. There's another company that just said, we're not doing hot bonds right now. The first question the analyst from New York asked me was, how many hotels are boarded up? And so we went through the presentation, and this fact, I'm not sure all of you are aware of this, but in February of this year, which is a COVID month, the hotel occupancy tax revenues in Tyler were higher than February of last year, which recall is a non-COVID February. So that's how well your economy's doing with regard to hotel occupancy taxes. And it was that month and that comparison that really got us the bond insurance. Next slide, please. So this is a comparison of where we started, and we started assuming we wouldn't get bond insurance and we'd be A rated when we were running all of our pro formas. Well, we ended up A+ rated with bond insurance. The interest rate, instead of a 4.16% that we were expecting, was 2.47%. So 1.7% lower. The total debt service savings you see in the yellow, and I don't know if you can read it, but it's over $3.5 million. And that's just going to accrue to the fund balance of the hotel occupancy fund. And so Keeter handed me a pro forma that he'd run last night after we got all these numbers. And, you know, the fund balance that you have is going to be a lot more. It's going to give you a lot more flexibility if other things come up, or if, you know, for whatever reason you want to spend more money on this project or anything like that. So next slide, please. This is the sources and uses, and this is what we estimated, which is on the left, versus what we ended up with. And a couple of things I wanted to point out there. Under both scenarios, we're getting $10,750,000 to the construction fund. We had to pay $62,000 for the bond insurance. So we paid $62,000 by AA rating for an insurance company that will write a check if you don't pay the bonds for the next 25 years. We also bought a surety bond reserve fund. So we have to have a 1-year reserve fund on these types of bonds. We were planning on using cash. The insurance company sold us an insurance policy. So that's 700,000 less in bonds that we had to sell. And we would have had to take that 700,000, invest it at probably 0.1% while we were paying 4.5% on the bonds. So the bond issue is smaller and we're not losing money on the investment. So, you know, that policy cost us $13,000. So there's 2 insurance policies. If there's a problem, they first hit the bond insurance, the reserve fund, and if that doesn't get us through a bad year, then they have to start writing checks. So they're really on the hook for this, which was really very beneficial to this transaction. So we did receive a premium of $1.84 million, and the reason for that is interest rates are so low, the purchasers wanted a 4% coupon rate, and they're willing to pay you more money for the bond to get that, so they can get more tax-exempt income, which is the purpose of buying a tax-exempt bond. Next slide, please. So we went through this process. We priced it yesterday morning, and that's a process that we talk to the underwriters. We go through a bunch of comparable deals and come up with prices, and they report back to us or several other buyers on the front end of the bonds. But they did have to underwrite a couple of maturities, meaning they didn't have them sold and they're trying to sell them today. And so if you approve this, we will close on May 27th. Next slide. So finally, we do recommend that you award the $9,200,000 Hotel Occupancy Tax Revenue Bond Series 2021 to RBC Capital Markets. If you have any questions, I'll be glad to answer them.
Question. Sure. Steve, since our hotels, we had a couple hotels that closed, can you tell us how many beds that we have right now?
Yeah, I'll let somebody, but I think it's about 5,600.
50.
I don't know when you check.
Sherry, Sherry, will you come up?
Oh, there it is, 3,200, sorry.
3,200, okay, thank you. Move
Any-
to approve.
Sure, I didn't know.
Go
you-
ahead.
Move
Any
to
other
approve
questions?
03, I'm sorry, if
I'm
there's
sorry,
no
go
other
ahead.
question.
Pardon?
I said move to approve
Okay.
03 if there's no other question.
Second.
I have a motion by McKellar, second by Westbrook. Any further discussion? I'm going to say one thing real quick. Number one, this has just, it's creative, and you know, buying the insurance and doing the different things that we've done to make this work. And then to end up with a local bank buying half the bonds, I mean, it's like they're a partner. And to have them step in and do this, it's a good feeling. And I love where all this is heading. And we've got another agenda item coming up, and we'll talk about this more. But thank you for what you've done, and we're headed off to the races. So we've got a motion and a second. Any further discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. 04.
Right, thank you. Item 04, you request that City Council consider approving the sale of Tyler Water and Sewer System Revenue Bonds, New Series 2021. And we initially brought this presentation to you on March 24th, 2021 for your guidance, and you all gave us guidance to move forward with this bond issue. And just to kind of touch a little bit of the highlights from that presentation, we were scheduled to spend about $39.7 million this year, and these bonds are related to our EPA consent decree. And so we had expected to do about $11.7 million from cash on hand. And these bonds are going to help to cover various projects, creek crossings, hydraulic models, Gravity Sewer Phase 1 through 5. And so on April the 5th, we had 2 meetings that day. We meeting with different analysts, and this was one of the meetings, and we had a good call with S&P that day as well. And the mayor and staff participated in that meeting, and I think the meeting went very well. So we have Stephen here again. He's going to go over the details on this presentation, and we recommend that at the end of this presentation that you approve this item as well.
Thank you, Kedrick. Can you go to the first slide or second slide, whatever? So we had 2 sales that we did yesterday. We did the one in the morning, and we took competitive bids on these in the afternoon. Because they're AA rated, they're widely known, you sell a lot of them. We feel like these are more efficient to competitively bid. We maintained our AA plus rating from Standard & Poor's, and the key there was really a couple of years ago when we first told them that we had the large capital plan. And so we're really just updating them as we go through this plan, and as long as the pro forma stays the same and the coverage stays the same, we should be okay on these bonds. These are 30-year bonds. We received 7 bids, and the interest rate is 2.03%, which is extremely low. We're really seeing low interest rates right now for high-grade credits in the market. So that's very beneficial. These also have a 10-year call, so you can repay them early on September 1, 2031 if you would like to. We are planning on closing these also on May 27th, so you'll be receiving a lot of cash for both projects on that day. Next slide. These are the bids. Sorry that didn't turn out right on here, but the winning bid was Robert W. Baird and Company, who, by the way, was one of the co-managers on that, was the co-manager on the hotel occupancy tax bond. So they not only helped quite a bit in there for the bonds that weren't sold to Southside, but they turned around and won the bid on your water and sewer bonds by barely beating Citigroup. You can see you got bids also from Mizero, Wells Fargo, FHN, Fidelity, and Hilltop. We do these bids on an online system, and we all sit around in the office and watch them along with Kedrick. So next slide, please. This is just an update of the pro forma, and it's hard to see. You can't really see in these numbers, but we were projecting a lot higher interest rate on these bonds than we had in the pro forma. So, like on the hotel occupancy tax, we're going to end up with more cash and more coverage to help pay for these projects. And this debt service on the bottom, it includes all the debt through the bonds going out starting in 2026. So it's the entire capital program for the wastewater system included in here. Next slide, please. This is the debt service on these bonds. The annual debt service is about $1.275 million per year. It's within the program. It's smaller than we anticipated, so it's within all the pro formas of the water utility system. Next slide, please. The sources and uses, again, we received a premium. We have $28 million for the construction fund plus cost of issuance. We sold $26.875 million in bonds, and again, they wanted higher coupon rates, so they paid us cash as a premium so they could receive higher coupon rates. Next slide. Again, if you approve this today, we will close on May 27th. And then finally, next slide. Again, we approve that the city of Tyler award the $26,875,000 water and sewer revenue bonds new series 2021 to Robert W. Baird and Company. Be glad to answer any questions.
This is not as exciting as the hot buns.
No,
Hot
it's
buns.
not. Convention centers are more exciting than wastewater.
What can I say? Any questions for Stephen or Kedrick?
Second.
Motion by McGee, second by McKellar. Any further discussion? All those in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed? Motion carries. Thank you.
Thanks, man.
Oh,
I will
five.
say, you will need wastewater for that convention.
I know.
So.
And y'all weren't excited about the rate. The rate was outstanding, the rating, the bond rating was, yeah, it was just as exciting. I don't, anyway.
And I'd like to, Jim Yankers here up front, and he works really hard behind the scenes on our utility system and the financials. And he really did a great job on this deal. And when you're issuing two bonds at the same time, that's a lot of work behind the scenes, and I don't know what I'd do if I didn't have him, so I really appreciate him being here.
You know, and I'll agree with that. That day that we were doing that phone call with the Standard and Poor's, and I'm sitting there thinking, this is way over my head. But Jim was in there, and it just, piece of cake. He'd done it before. It just very confident, and so, good job.
Yes, thank you. All right, Mayor and Council, you have the next item. Item 05 before you. This is a request the City Council consider adopting an ordinance amending Chapter 19 Utilities by repealing a rate structure change from declining to inclining rate schedule. I'm going to give you a short presentation, and at the end of the presentation, we will recommend that you all approve this repealing of this rate structure change. So you'll see from the presentation back during September 9, 2020, you all voted to do a $2 base rate increase on our water and sewer rates. And also at that time, you approved to do a volumetric rate structure change that would go into effect on September 1st, 2021. The volumetric inclining rate structure was adopted in order to receive favorable interest rate on loans from the Texas Water Development Board. And staff successfully completed the first step of that process, and that first step was a project information form, and we got that submitted. And after that submission in January of 2021, we received correspondence from the Water Development Board, and they basically indicated to us that they had an overwhelming request of funds from other entities around the state, and that our invitation to apply would be delayed. So basically the way the step works is you fill out this project information form, they review your project, and then they send you an invitation to apply for the funds. So basically what they told us was that that would be delayed. And also it was communicated to us at the time that multi-year commitments would no longer be available. Next slide. Okay. So as of April the 28th, today, the city has not received an invitation. Repealing this ordinance, so basically we've already gotten pretty far off into the process of issuing bonds. We did 26 million today, and later on, or maybe mid next fiscal year, we're gonna be issuing some more bonds. So by the time, if we do get an invitation to apply and actually get through the process, we're gonna be getting to pretty close to the end of this consent decree and the debt that we're gonna be issuing. And that's why we're here before you, asking for you to repeal this inclining rate structure. So by repealing, the question may come up, what kind of impact on revenues will this have? So by repealing this ordinance, it will have minimal impact, if any, on revenues. It was anticipated that there would be some water conservation, just less consumption, because you were going to have higher inclining rates in our rate structure. So currently, we're anticipating for next fiscal year that we're not going to do any rate increases for next fiscal year. However, our regulatory compliance fee for the EPA consent decree, we're expecting that fee to go from $613 a month to $834 a month, and that's to cover this bond issue that we just completed, or about to complete. So we go to the next slide. You all probably remember this from our budget presentation. On the left-hand side, it just tells you what our current volumetric rates are. And then on the right-hand side, these are the rates that we were proposing to go to September 1st, 2021. And so this is what we're repealing. This is the water side of the volumetric rate. So that's what we presented to you back in September of last fiscal year. So we go to the next slide. This is our sewer and the same scenario here. Current rates on the right-hand side and what we're proposing. I'm sorry, current rates on the left-hand side and what we're proposing on the right-hand side. So having said that, if we can move to the next slide, I can answer any questions that you may have.
Any questions for Kedrick?
Yeah, I got one. So we were doing all that to comply with the requirements of the water board, what's the name of it?
Water Development Board.
Water Development Board. And if it does go through, it looks like it's gonna be too late.
Right, we could get it in time, maybe for an issue or two, but we don't have very much confidence.
Okay, so we don't have much confidence.
And if I can add to that a little bit, Kedrick, because one of the things that in our analysis, especially after just the bond sales yesterday, looking at what the difference is, because Texas Water Development Board, Stephen and I were talking about this before the meeting, has now actually put in a floor. So when we started talking about Texas Water Development Board, there's like 0% interest. And currently, I think it's at 1.7 or 1.2%.
1.5.
Okay, 1.5 minimum, that's the floor that they put in. So they've actually increased their interest rate. And so as you look at the differential now between, you got 2.03% is what you just approved a minute ago. Really as far as the saving piece versus then also the regulatory components that can come in with Texas Water Development Board, at least at this moment in time, don't make the disruption in cost and service, or really just cost, kind of make it kind of work going in that direction.
And we had initially told you all, I think we were gonna save somewhere in the neighborhood of 75 million, and with the rates going up, with the Water Development Board, and as City Manager said, the rates we were getting, the savings wasn't gonna be 75 million. So basically, things have changed since we brought this to you on that plan, so.
Any other questions?
So moved.
Thank you.
Second.
Got a motion by McKellar, second by Wynn. Any further discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Thank you, Kedrick. Morning, Paul.
Good morning, Mayor and Council.
Morning.
I'm Paul Newhouse, Environmental Compliance Engineer for the City of Tyler. And I am bringing to you item N1 this morning, asking that we renew the contract with Pipeline Analysis for another year. The Pipeline Analysis is the lead consultant advisor for our consent decree work, and some of the tasks that are currently ongoing. He's doing our Group 4 that we just completed last year, the inspections that we did last year, a report for the EPA that's due July 1. Groups 1 to 4, obviously that's history, he's assessed those. And Group 5 is currently ongoing. Those are basins 18 and 21. Next slide, please. He also helps us, or to tell you what he's done as well, the manholes. He's currently inspected all of our identified manholes, 11,069 manholes. That was to be completed in 5 years, and that's where we are ahead of schedule. And the gravity main lines, over 367 miles have been inspected, so we're over 50% complete with those, quite a bit over 50% complete. And I mentioned last year that we were going to accelerate our inspection and complete this in 7 years so that last group of work has the same amount of time to complete the construction as the first or the previous groups. So that's what we're doing. We're planning to complete our inspections in 2023. And That is why this year's renewal is a little bit higher than it has been in the past, because we're trying to compress this work. We don't anticipate the overall cost increasing at all for what we're planning to pay Pipeline Analysis, but we do anticipate the fact that he's going to be doing more work in a shorter period of time. Next slide, please. To keep us ahead of schedule. One thing that's ongoing as well is our capacity management, operation, and maintenance plan. That's our operations, our procedures for the service center and the work that they do for the work that we do, and our assessment, and then our continued assessment when he's complete and he moves on to his next city and leaves us in better shape. And then he's going to continue with our capacity work and our remediation work, assisting in what's going on there. So that's why my recommendation this morning is that you approve or authorize the city manager to renew the contract, this work order 1 with Pipeline Analysis for $1.25 million for this next year.
Any questions for Paul? Who was the second from? Linda? Motion by McGee, second by Sellers. Any further discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Thank you, Paul.
Thank you.
Morning, Mayor and Council.
We're getting very close to M3, so you need to make yours quick.
Yes, absolutely.
Benny's item is exciting as well.
Okay, we're excited about yours.
Oh, okay. Do you want me to start? Oh. I'm here before you to ask you to renew our contract with ESRI. ESRI is the software that we use in our GIS department for making maps and keeping track of all of our assets visually on the map and doing data analysis on all of our stuff that we have. The contract originally was $50,000 a year because of our population. Since our population increased to over 100,000, now they increased their cost from $50,000 to $75,000. And the maintenance is based on the total cost, which is again is 10%, which brings the total cost to $8,250. So I'm asking the council to authorize for us to enter in a contract with the ESRI.
Any questions for Benny?
Move to approve M2.
Motion by Curtis, second by McGee. Any
Thank
further
you.
discussion? All those in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed? Motion passes. Thank you, Benny. Stephanie? M3.
Good morning, Mayor and Council. To say we're excited about this item is probably an understatement, and I'm so humbled and privileged to have the opportunity to present it to you this morning, along with Fitzpatrick, who's here. But I wanted to take a minute to back up and talk about this process and how far we've come, because legacy projects take time, and timing is everything. And today, you've heard the stars have really aligned for this project. So back in September of 2016, we started with the Rose Complex Master Plan, and that was led by Senator Kevin Eltife at the time. We had about 28 people on our steering committee that consisted of all the stakeholders that are in this area. The East Texas State Fair, Tyler Independent School District, the Civic Theater, just everyone that has been involved in any part of any activities taking place on this property. Once we approved that plan, that was in July of 2017. So the council approved that plan. And a couple of years later, in 2019, if y'all remember, October of 2019, we met at the Rose Garden and formally announced that we would be moving forward with a conference center at the Rose Complex. And so that was the big announcement. Well, we began working on the design and then the layout with Fitzpatrick. We hired them as our design professionals and created a small stakeholder group, and many of you participated on that. I want to thank Councilman McGee and Westbrook for participating, the mayor, city manager, and Sherry Lee from Visit Tyler. That was really small subcommittees that looked at what should the layout be, how should the kitchen be laid out, what is the green space going to consist of, so just all the different areas that were specific to the project. And then COVID hit, and there were a lot of various challenges moving forward at that point. But we continued to fine-tune through that process the plans and work with Fitzpatrick on finishing up the design. including a professional construction estimate that we had done, so that we can make sure that if we needed to value engineer anything through the process, we would be closer to target on the project when it was bid out. We bid it out the beginning of April. It was a fast turnaround time. It was less than 30 days, really, for them to return the bids. We had a pre-construction mandatory meeting at the Rose Garden. We had a lot of interest, and we are excited today to tell you that WRL was the lowest and qualified bidder. And Brandy Ziegler is going to get into some more detail on that. But today what we're asking the council to do is authorize the city manager to award bid number 21040 for the Rose Complex and to WRL for the amount not to exceed $27,985,000 and some change there. But super excited about that. And I cannot think, there has been such a big team on this project. I probably can't remember to thank everyone. But Stephen and, really Kedrick through finance and working on all that, they are amazing. Same thing that you guys had said earlier, when you sit through those meetings, they are just rattling off those numbers and I can barely keep up. So there's just been so much involvement. Visit Tyler as well, Leanne and her staff having to get ready for the move. So I just wanted to take a minute while I was up here to say thank you to everybody who participated. And I'm gonna turn it over to Brandy for the details.
Good morning, Mayor and Council. I'm so
Hi, Brandy.
happy to be here. We would love to show you a quick video of this exciting new project. I'm Brandy Ziegler with Fitzpatrick Architects, by the way, and we've had an incredible team, Chad Humphreys, Eddie LaCroix, and of course Steve Fitzpatrick in the audience. So we wanted to show you a video and give you some data on the conference center. And we can start that anytime. So this is a view coming from Houston Street on the south side. There's a connection to the sports complex, a pedestrian connection, and we have improved parking improvements on this side. It's a garden pavilion building, and we want to use iconic details about our Rose complex. The east side, we have a valet or drop-off area and a connecting porch to the north side, a covered walkway. We have a rose garden and a direct connection here from the porch to the Rose Garden Museum. What's exciting about this is this becomes an entire complex, an entire campus. And we have dedicated parking now for the Civic Theater and the Rose Museum that is off-street parking once Rose Park Drive is realigned. The exciting piece here off of Front Street on the north side is a 3.3 acre park that's graded, slightly graded to drain to the north, but is an event park. And so over 5,000 people could be in this park for an event at a time. And it connected over to the west side to the Mayfair complex, the historic Mayfair. We have an opportunity on this side for a tree arbor, tree grove park to sit in a shaded area if there's food truck events but all of these are separate, possible separate venues. And there's a connection, possible future connection for a food truck park here on the west side that connects directly to the complex. The conference center then has an iconic rose feature in the middle that I think visitors would want to take pictures and it's the place where you're like, I'm at Tyler Rose Complex. Walking in on the north side here, this is kind of our main street on the inside, a large 25-foot wide gathering area. And here's our big conference space. Can seat over 1,900 people in chairs and about 1,300 people at banquet seating here. We have acoustic design in this room, and that's what you're seeing on the ceiling. It's a rose acoustic cloud that can be lit for different events, for different groups that come in, lit different colors. And we're just showing a presentation chair seating arrangement here. Across that Main Street corridor, we have 3 breakout rooms. It can be one large room or broken into 3 areas, and we'll look at that in just a minute. But our social spaces are large, our gathering spaces are large, and we've been creative with the flexibility of the building and how it can perform in a really flexible way. So we've got great night lighting in the park, so that events can happen at night as well. And that is just a quick overview of the video. I thought it would be great for us to also walk through just a couple of plans so you can see, if you have questions from your constituents, what the building has in it and what it consists of. So let's walk through that really quick. We'll go to the first slide and orient ourselves. These may take a minute to load. Let's go back one to the overview here. Let's see if that one will. Yeah, that slide. So that's the site plan on the left, and you can see there's a lightly shaded area that's there to the north. That is to orient us. That's where Harvey Hall is currently. If you can see, yes, thank you. That's where Harvey Hall is currently, so you can get oriented. The new conference center is pushed to the south slightly. There's several reasons for that. One, so the park can be a unifier for the campus, but also if you drive by Harvey Hall as it exists, there's quite a bit of grade change. And in order for this park to have kind of an event status, we pushed it back so that we can get a flat lawn event area. And pushing it back to the south allows us to do that. It also allows us to connect directly. Our porch connection on the north connects directly to the Rose Museum and really adds to the importance of that facility. And then our park itself, the rose sort of medallion in the middle, is sort of the centerpiece of the whole complex. We have, with all of these facilities, over 60,000 square feet of conference space when you add up everything, and that is one unifying piece to this that I think is wonderful when we have all the Mayfair, the Rose Museum, and the Conference Center. About 42,000 square feet of that conference space is in the Conference Center itself. It is about a 50,000 square foot building, 42,000 square feet of that dedicated to conference space. Improved parking to the south. The parking, if you've been out there recently, is unimproved, and the space utilization of the parking is hard to define. But here we have about 500 parking spaces dedicated to the conference center, which meets code and will support the conference center, along with overflow parking with our TISD partnership. And then to the right, you see that tree arbor piece that's on the west side, and then our connection here on the bottom picture to Rose Museum and to Tyler Civic Theater. And we can go to the next slide. We're going to zoom in just a little bit on the park and talk about, we've gone over many of these, but the park, a few of the amenities we want to mention is the park itself has Wi-Fi connection. So if you're outside, you can use Wi-Fi. We've got food truck connections and outdoor outlets so that you can plug in outside. The porch on the north is a venue in itself, and so events can happen on the porch. And just to mention, on the east side, Rose Park Drive will be realigned. Fair Park Drive stays as it is, but Rose Park Drive will be realigned to the north and south so that we can have off-street parking dedicated to the Rose Museum. We'll have significant landscape improvements and street trees and an environment that is shaded and nice for pedestrians, and you can see all of the pedestrian connections that really connect the campus. And again, we have over 60,000 square feet of conference meeting space on this campus once we're complete. And we can go to the next slide. To the south, then, is our connector, pedestrian connector to the sports complex, and also new parking improvements, dedicated parking improvements there on the west side for maintenance and kitchen catering drop-off and staff parking. We will have the same unified campus design, master plan design, so the drive in front of the conference center could connect to a future road potentially, and then connect the drives to the sports complexes as well. And we can go to the next slide. We've gone over many of these amenities, but one of the intangible pieces is just for visitors who visit the Rose Garden, visit the Rose Center complex, what the statement about the city and who we are here. And I think that's an intangible piece to this puzzle that When people come here, this will say a lot about Tyler, the city of Tyler, and the Rose Complex. And I think it will do wonders about invigorating this area. And let's move to the next slide. On the one thing I just wanted to point out on the south side is that Main Street entrance there, our main entrance that connects to that corridor. It's kind of our path to the north and south, to the sports complex and then also to the park. And the nice thing about these porches is they're pre-event space. So when you come here, there's speakers in the soffit, there's music playing, and it's a great pre-event space, gathering space outside before you actually go in and visit or start your event. So they're a great asset that we don't currently have now at Harvey Hall. And let's move to the next slide. We'll start looking quickly at layouts for the plan. The plan is an efficient layout. Though this is a similar size as Harvey Hall, we have 1.5 times the amount of conference space dedicated in the plan than Harvey Hall does now. So that's how efficient the layout is. Harvey Hall has about 25,000 square feet of conference space, where this has 42,000 square feet of conference space due to the layout. 16,000 square feet of porch, available porch area for venue as well. Down at the lower left corner, this plan is pointing north, but we have a finishing kitchen, and then our corridor hallways are flexible. Our big room in this scenario is shown seated with banquet seating, and it's showing 1,300 in the big room, and across the way in the breakout room, 150, for a total of 1,500 at tables and chairs. The restrooms are located on the north and the south, and they're very generous. The women's, I counted earlier, is over 13 stalls per restroom, so 26 stalls for women's restroom. We have a multi-purpose room on the northwest corner, the top left, that can be used for support space. It could be set up for bar or service area for the porch and park. And there are 2 small indoor-outdoor restrooms there on that corner that can be used for multi-purpose space, or if you have an event on the porch or the park, you would be able to use those restrooms as well. The stage is a built-in stage and has all the support spaces needed. It's a plug-and-play scenario with all of the AVIT support to plug and play all different kinds of events. And we have a green room for prep before a performance or an event. Our interesting design there at the corners of the big room they're flexible walls, flexible corners that look like very nice hospitality hotel finishes, but they're able to be pulled away, so the corners of the big room melt away, and it allows you to have the flexibility of the large 25-foot wide corridor becoming part of the big room, and the middle section between the vestibules is a flexible partition that slides up. So all of it becomes really flexible space, and you can spill out into the corridor and make your event even larger if needed. And we have sound and light locks at all of our vestibules, so if coming in and out, we wouldn't disrupt the performer or the guest speaker. Let's move to the next slide, and we won't stay that long on all the slides, but I just want to show you the way the building can be laid out. So if you've been to a Crosswalk conference, it's a similar way that we can break out the main room into one large room, and then you see main room 2, 3, and 4, where we have 3 large breakout spaces even in the main room. And then across the corridor to the right, that large breakout room can also be divided into 3 spaces. So still seating, we're up at about 1,200 for all of those at banquet seating, and we can go to the next slide. For lecture style chair layout, just to give you an idea, the main room would seat 1,900, breakout room 273, and the multi-purpose room, if we wanted to use that, 70 for a total of 2,700, and that would be our highest capacity. And let's go to the next slide. These are just varying layouts where you could do lecture style seating in breakout rooms, and we can keep going. We'll just look at all the different scenarios. this is a training arrangement, a training layout for classroom seating. Also would be about 1,000 total if we used all of our spaces. And next slide. Similar way we could break those spaces out, and we can keep going. And so just in summary, the amenity sort of overview of the building is we're 50,000 square feet of building area, over 42,000 of conference space dedicated to that, over 1.5 times increase from Harvey as it exists now. And we've gone over many of these amenities, acoustic design, daylighting design, lighting design, many things, new mechanical systems that aren't that fun to talk about but are essential to how this building performs and the acoustic way that it performs. So we've got a lot of exciting features, and not to mention how beautiful it's going to be. So it'll be very much like a hospitality hotel type finished space. The exciting part about this is what Stephanie alluded to, and this is our last slide, is our bids for this project came in so wonderfully. We had estimated early on when we were first planning and looking at just every option in the master plan, we had climbed up with our estimate around $36 million. We spent a good while being thoughtful and targeted on a value engineering exercise on how can we get the best value for this and still have what we need and have a beautiful complex. We were able to take that estimate down and add alternates of amenity areas where if we couldn't afford them, we would be able to add them later. Our estimate at that time then was around $28 million. When we bid the project with those alternates, and our base bid was $26,751,000 and some change up there. So as Stephanie mentioned, we were able to come in under budget with that and then potentially add back those alternate amenity areas, everything that you saw today, for the total of $27,985,000. My eyes are, I may have to get, but maybe y'all can see that, $985,898. And that's, I think, the total that Stephanie is asking for approval today. And thank you all so much for letting us be a part of this historic moment for Tyler and for the future of where we're headed. We couldn't possibly say thank you enough. And we don't have to get into this stuff. I've talked enough, but those are just supplemental slides that we won't be going over. I've already mentioned all these numbers. So if you have any questions, I'm happy to answer.
I'm sure there's going to be some comments, but I'll get it started. This has been a long road, and you know, when we started this in 2016 with this committee, and you had the 4 previous mayors that supported the project, and I support the project. So you know, I want to thank the previous mayors, the councils, this council, Stephanie, Ed, you know, the staff, Fitzpatrick, you know, Chad, Eddie, Steve, you, Brandy. It's been a close working relationship, and it's just one of those things. And Sherry and all you people with the chamber and CVB, it's worked so well, and it's just almost like it's meant to be. And I think it's going to be good for the community, for the north side, south side, the entire community. And it's a big project, and we haven't had a big project in a long time. And to have something where people come in from out of town and go, wow. And my deal is I love things that you drive by and you go, wow. And so this is wow. So thank you. So anybody else wish to speak?
I just have a round of applause for them. That was a great, thank you so much for that. It was outstanding.
I'd like to say that I've worked on this project for probably 20 years. It started at the Chamber of Commerce, Sherry and Cindy Smoke. Thank you. It's exciting, as Don said, and I echo everything that he said. But we had the leadership of Kevin Eltife on this particular project, and I think he really helped us. So Kevin, if you're watching, I want to thank you for all those years that we've all sat through meetings about this project. It's wonderful and exciting, and I definitely support it too.
I want to echo, Mayor, your comments, and Linda, your comments. I mean, this is going to be the, center of our community, around our largest tourist attraction, the Rose Garden, and I'm just proud to be able to vote on this.
Done.
I guess somebody told me I wore my rose-colored jacket today. And I am so excited about this. As Mayor said, that this is something huge for Tyler.
Yeah.
I think this is one of the, I don't know if is this the biggest investment that it's been a while since we've invested
Since
this kind
Harvey
of money
Convention.
in a structure. I know we have infrastructure, but as far as the actual building, this is gonna bring a lot of different events to our city, and I am so excited. Not to say this in my district, but that does mean a lot. But I don't have too far to drive when I want to go to an event, but I am so excited to have this project, and you guys, Fitzpatrick, thank you so very much. I have I don't want to tell everything, but I think I have 3 different projects that I'm involved in, and you guys are doing all 3 of them. So it's amazing, so thank you for your work.
Thank you, Robert.
Any other comments?
Yeah, I would. And it's, there comes a point in time when the city needs to take a lead role in urban renewal and revitalization of certain areas of the city, and to do this with our legacy industry, it's absolutely incredible. But then the impact it's going to have on the second largest employer sector in Smith County, and that's the restaurant and hospitality industry. It's going to mean more jobs. It's going to mean a more vibrant economy and so on. And then hats off to those that came up, because this is truly a new day when we take a look at projects like this and come up with the creative financing that we did for this project. So, wow, on all levels.
Yeah.
So will there be a hotel coming soon right next to it?
I hope so. That would be wonderful. I think that's a wonderful idea.
We hope so.
Thank you.
Do we need a motion for anything?
Well, yeah, I wanted to say I'm excited about this too. I think it's going to be something everyone from Tyler can be proud of. But one thing that I did notice on the bidding that not everyone would probably notice, and I want to compliment Fitzpatrick on, is obviously the total number, but that's part of it. But the number of bidders and the closeness of the bids, that means the plans and specifications were really good. So congratulations to you guys. You really helped the city out with that, so thank you.
And I'm glad someone close to Tyler is going to be building it.
Right.
Yeah, that's right.
That's right.
All right, I'll entertain a motion.
Move to approve, M.
Second.
Everybody second.
Oh, we do.
I'm sorry.
Sorry, we got
So
excited.
excited
I'm
about
sorry,
this.
we got excited.
Sherry, come on up.
My name is Sherry Lee. I live at 154 County Road 3115 in Jacksonville. We are here today on behalf of Visit Tyler and the Tyler Area Chamber of Commerce. Visit Tyler serves as the destination marketing organization for the city, and the need for a new convention center has long been a topic of discussion. At Visit Tyler, we promote the city as a destination to hold conventions, conferences, meetings, and events to locals and out-of-town folks. When conventions come to the city, the entire community benefits. Dollars are not only spent on hotels and restaurants, they're in museums, theaters, sporting events, retail stores, and other businesses. These dollars serve as an economic engine for our city. In 2019, the direct travel spending contributed more than $390 million into our local economy and supported more than 4,000 jobs. Because of the recent pandemic, the hospitality industry suffered more than most businesses, but we are beginning to see signs of improvement. But the largest contributor to a sound recovery will come from the groups that bring their meetings back to Tyler. A well-designed convention center with proper breakout space and layout will contribute to a successful future for Tyler. So Visit Tyler, the Tyler Area Chamber of Commerce, support the building of the new Rose Complex Convention Center and strongly advocate that you will approve this project.
Thank you.
Thank you, Sherry. All right, we have a motion and a second. Any further discussion or comments? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? That's a good thing. Motion carries. All right, we are down to the consent agenda.
Move to approve consent agenda as presented.
Second?
Got a motion by Westbrook, second by McKellar. Any further discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Consent agenda passes. Now for the city manager's report.
Mayor and council, I'm going to take an aside here during the city manager report because this is the last full meeting of Councilman Sellers, and I want to express my gratitude just for her 6 years of service. When she announced that she was running, I knew her from a picture at the Chamber building of past presidents. She's the second, as far as woman to become president for the Chamber, and so you have this picture, and the hair. I don't know if that was like a perm. Yeah, but it was a nice picture. And so I was wondering, I wonder how. And we have not found a stronger supporter of the city programs and services than Councilman Sellers. She has just, during her 6 years, been there for the city. She's at every event. She is willing to step up and do whatever she's called upon. And so, and also just kind of a continuation of that, her availability to her constituents. Sometimes we get calls from constituents like, I try to get a hold of my council member, they won't call me back. And we have never had anybody like that from Councilman Sellers' district. She is always attentive and there for them and reaching out to us and say, this is a concern, these are issues, can y'all help us deal with this? And helps us kind of with that discussion at times in order to be able to get through it. And she's had some difficult zoning cases while she's been here that are in her district. I know all of y'all think sometimes y'all have neighborhoods that are somewhat contentious. Councilman Sellers has more contentious neighborhoods than any of y'all combined. And she does an incredible job of being able to talk with them, work them through situations, and so we have just really valued that. And the piece then that really kind of from day one she stepped in and has even probably to even today, I even heard a little bit of it, is that strong financial management kind of oversight and her kind of understanding that she is a steward of the public's funds and her discipline pushing us in the right direction on things such as health benefits and other programs and services and really kind of questioning those, not from a standard of being just kind of creating issues or problems, but really making sure we all understand what we're getting into for different things. And for some things, just people, especially on the health insurance piece, just kind of a timidness or kind of a concern about what's going to happen. And her, both as far as insight from the professional standpoint, as well as just kind of the financial piece and kind of that fortitude she has of, what we really need to push and dig into this, and made us kind of help us push in directions that we needed to for a long time before then to get us into a much better position. But really the final thing, though, I want to make sure that I kind of mentioned for her, just so that is just her true heart and concern she has for everybody. She knows the names of all of your children. She knows the name of all your dogs. And she cares about, and just, whenever, she and I meet, or, that's always the thing she asks about first is how are you doing emotionally? How are you doing spiritually? How are you doing physically? How is your family? How is your pets? Because she knows that really that is her first and foremost piece on this earth, is to make sure that she is caring for her fellow man and has a heart towards that, and it just comes out in every conversation you have with her. And so for just the past 6 years, I say thank you for what you have given to us, and to just, like I said, for being there for us every day.
Thank you.
And I think what Ed says is what we all think. And so, there's no reason to reread what you just said. But really, just I thank you for everything Ed said. But for your friendship, now you go to yoga with my wife, and it's just the friendships have just gotten deeper, and the way you work has just been a blessing. And I look, I don't want you to just get off council and disappear, because we still may need your help to make sure we keep the insurance straight and all that. So, but just thank you for everything you've done. So, anybody else want to make any comments?
I want to say thank you for, it's been 3 years now that we've been working together and serving on the benefits committee. I know it's been very exciting. And thank you for your leadership, made some good changes, and I know you have some things that you want us to keep, make sure we stay on top of. So I have
And
those.
you will,
And I
right?
will, right. I will. So thank you very much.
Sure.
I just want to thank you as well, Councilwoman. And how can you just leave one female on this bench?
I was only one for a long time.
Well, that's true. Thank you so much for everything you've done for the city.
Yeah, I'd say, I think that term limits are a good part of our city government, but it does create this sad event here. And I do appreciate you reaching out when James and I were new of helping us into this role. It just seems a little fast that you'd already be rolling off, but thanks for setting a good example for people that'll follow behind in your district.
Thank you.
I want to echo that, Linda. You've helped me sitting next to me as I'm maneuvering on the council, and thank you for teaching me how to work the computer in front of us. What do you have over there, Linda? I don't have this. But, thank you very much, and I know I can reach out to you if I have questions or concerns.
Thank you.
Well, to add to what Councilman McKellar said, to have just one woman, we were all outnumbered with just one.
His mother taught him well.
But it's been an honor to serve with you, Linda, and it's been a pleasure to collaborate with you on several key issues and committees. And so you're going to be missed. Thank you.
Is it my turn? Sure. I really was expecting this next council meeting, so I'm very unprepared for this, but the people that are responsible to the city of Tyler are absolutely wonderful. I've worked with every one of them, and I've loved every minute of it. I think the thing that is most gratifying about serving as a city councilman is to getting to know the people in your district. It's invaluable to me, and I've really loved it. I did get in trouble one time by the city manager when I was out directing traffic on the street. He told me that was not quite in the line of my duties. But I really am going to miss the people. It's been a wonderful 6 years. I most want to thank Mayor Hines that I worked with most of the time, and real happy to have Don Warren now as mayor. And I'll be back. I don't know that I'm going anywhere. I've lived in Tyler all my life, so thank you very much to all the citizens in District 1 for allowing me to represent you for these 6 years.
Good job.
Staff would also, Mayor, if it's all right,
Sure.
like to, as far as to express their gratitude.
Come on.
Hello, Councilman. As she
I
likes
kind
to
of
be
gave you a
called.
hard time too, didn't I, in the beginning with all the zoning stuff? I apologize.
No, I appreciate your collaborative efforts with me and the staff. I mean, as it was mentioned before, you've had some really rough ones, some really rough zoning cases. We've had some very interesting neighborhood meetings, and you've been there for all of them and staying really in tune with what was going on with all those cases, and very, very passionate about serving your district and all the citizens of Tyler, and we just greatly appreciate that collaborative effort and your passion.
Thank you.
Well, Sellers, I want to give you a special thank you from the police department. It's been great having you over the last few years, and I want to say that I don't think everybody fully understands the sacrifice that council members make with their time and their energy as y'all come up here and deal with us. And I want to say thanks for the helping us with the issue. We've dealt with golf carts and noise ordinances.
I knew he was going to bring up the golf carts.
But thank you very much. And from our part, over the years, the support you've had for the police department, we're very appreciative.
Thank you, Chief.
Councilwoman Sellers, thank you, from the fire department as well. I think one of the first meetings we talked about was a Christmas party in 2017 about the new fire station. You mentioned to build something similar to the Metroplex Evil Empire to the east is what we used to call them.
The Evil Empire?
Yes, hopefully we built something that reflects the grace and class that you have shown us as part of the council.
Thank you, sir, and thank you for the fire station. Oh, keep it.
Councilman Sellers, we're gonna miss you, and we appreciate your leadership, and of course, I'm representing the finance department, and we wish you well in your future endeavors, and definitely hope that you stick around and maybe advise us on some things. And we appreciate your leadership and, dealing with our health funds. But the thing that I probably will remember the most about you is every time that I see you, you ask about my family, particularly my wife. And that means a lot to me that you make that relationship personal. And I really appreciate your leadership, and we're going to miss you around here.
Thank you, Keith.
Linda, 6 years is a long time. And when you guys come and go, it's sad for us because we get to work for you for such a long period of time. We get to know you personally and professionally. And I want to thank you for your service. And I told you earlier today, but I want to tell you now that I'm so excited that you were able to be a part of the conference center because I know that you had worked on it for a very long time, including the chamber. One thing I've commented to Heather on is you've had some of the most controversial cases, and I'm so glad I'm not in the planning department anymore. And I'm sorry that you had to deal with all of that. And it is a thankless job. As Chief Toller said, you all put in so much time and effort, and it's all from your heart. And that's something that we all appreciate so much. And it really is, and I know we talk about the conference center today, but it really is. You sent an email the other day about the wildflowers on Grande, and that seems so simple, but it's the little things that you notice and that you comment on that we really appreciate because, like I said, sometimes we all can get bogged down in the negative, but we appreciate your service, and thank you so much for always being supportive of city staff.
Thank you, Stephanie. I will continue to watch that wildflower.
I think we've had the best year, probably because of the freeze.
Oh, Councilman Sellers, I'm so sad to see you going, but I came up to the manager's office right as you did. We kind of came on to our roles together, and it's been such a joy to work with you and get to know you personally. Like Kedrick said, you're also thoughtful and caring, whether it's a monogram baby gift or just a little special note. And I've always appreciated the way you bring so much grace and concern for your citizens and for Tyler to everything you do, that you really deeply care about them, and it shows in everything you do, and you have a good fine eye for detail. So that meticulousness and goal for perfection and for excellence really helps us and inspires us all to be better. So thank you so much. It's been such an honor to work with you.
Oh, they're gonna make me cry.
Oh, Linda, what's left to say? There hasn't been a time that I've worked for the city that you haven't been the councilwoman for District 1. So it's going to be strange not seeing you every other week and sad. But you've just done so much for us. On behalf of City Communications, we've enjoyed working with you so much. And you and I have been in the trenches on a few public meetings. And I think that that's when I really came to appreciate just your heart for service and how you were willing to fight for your district and you were willing to have those hard conversations. And we did that together, and that was a wonderful thing. So going forward, to echo everything that everyone here has said, do not be a stranger. Please keep coming back, and please keep engaging with us. And please keep sending me emails with your eye for detail, because you make the city better, and you've made the city better.
Thank you, ma'am.
Well, this has been a good meeting. I'll entertain a motion to adjourn. Would you like to make that motion?
Move to adjourn.
Permanently.
All right, we're adjourned.
That's one of your best performances. We'll have new people.